I'm Mike Smith. I work with Advanced Armament Corporation. I am a lead senior research and development engineer.
All right. How long have you been with the company?
Since it began building silencers back in 1999.
Awesome. Where are you guys based out of now? Is there a move recently?
Move coming up. Right now we're still in Lawrenceville, Georgia, but we'll soon be relocating to a new facility in Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay. Is that going to slow anything down, or?
No, we've been planning for this, so the people should see a very minimal interruption in the availability of product during the move.
Okay. So what'd you guys bring to the show here?
One of the products that we're somewhat reintroducing this year are the SR5 and SR7 centerfire rifle silencers. And for folks that are familiar with our 51 tooth, 7.62 STN6 and M4 2000, the SR5 and SR7 are just a natural outgrowth of those products with a few improvements. Probably the most noteworthy improvement that you're going to find and difference between the two is that the tooth count on the muzzle devices, muzzle brakes, flash hiders, and breakouts, has gone from a 51 tooth gear to a 90 tooth gear. The other difference here is that there's a low angle taper right in front of the gear that matches up with a corresponding low angle taper inside the silencer. And when you thread the silencer on using the very same intuitive motion that all AAC fast attach rifle silencers employ, the two low angle tapers meet and you get a virtually wiggle free engagement between the silencer and the muzzle device. And so this is going to lend itself a little better to precision rifle applications than the original 51 tooth mount did.
The higher tooth count means that you're not kind of searching for that last click.
Yep. Yeah, the higher tooth count and primarily the low angle tapers. Really, with the low angle tapers, the latch really becomes a superfluous secondary engagement system.
So the safety backup.
Yep, okay. Exactly. All the work's being done by the tapers. The styling on these is somewhat different from the 7.62 STN6 and the M4 2000, but the construction principles remain the same. Got a stainless steel outer body. All the baffles are going to be Inconel alloy that's been heat treated. The preponderance of baffles are going to be stamped Inconel, but the blast baffle is now a thicker machined Inconel blast baffle to handle the additional abrasion that you find on short-barreled hosts, particularly 10.5-inch ARs. So this is going to be a very full auto capable silencer. Sound reduction wise, it's right on par with the 7.62 STN6, so it's going to be an excellent silencer to cross use on other calibers, including 300 Blackout, 5.56, 6.5, and 6.8.
Now, can you bring it up to 308, 300 Win Mag, anything like that?
308 is the most powerful cartridge this one will accommodate. It's not Win Mag rated.
Okay, how about a barrel length on that 308?
Anything down to 14.5 inches.
Okay. As far as the flash hiders, the muzzle devices, are you kind of reintroducing the whole line in the 90 tooth?
Right now, it's primarily restricted to the more popular thread pitches, half 28 and 5/8 24. If there is interest and demand for the additional thread pitches that we offer in the 51 tooth line, then we will of course introduce them.
But you're doing brake, hider, breakout,
yep.
All those?
Yep, exactly. We've got half 28 brakes, flash hiders and breakouts, and 5/8 24 brakes, breakouts, and flash hiders.
All right, great. Anything new on the pistol end?
Yeah, let's see. This is one of my personally most exciting introductions for 2015. It's the Illusion 9mm pistol silencer. And the Illusion is most noteworthy because it is an eccentric design, meaning the path through the silencer is not concentrically located with the outer diameter, it's offset. And this was done so that you could have an unobstructed sight picture on most all relevant 9mm host pistols with standard issue sights without having to go to tall sights and have a custom holster to take your gun with tall sights. We've engineered this so that it works with standard height sights.
As far as diameter, is it similar to the previous can? Or?
It's similar to the Evo 9. Okay. It's 1.25 inches in diameter, and we stuck with 1.25 inches diameter so that it would not protrude conspicuously beyond the diameter of most pistol slides. And one of the interesting engineering challenges with any eccentric design is get it to where that it clocks up so that the bulk of the silencer lies below the bore axis and doesn't block the sights. So with the Illusion, the first time you screw it on, it's probably going to be upside down and block your sights or some variant of that. In order to orient the Illusion so that it does not block the sights, the ASAP system in this, which a lot of people call a booster or a linear inertial decoupler, it allows the guns like the Glock that use a modified Browning action to cycle. The ASAP in this has been engineered with 30 gradations, if you would. So to adjust it, you simply pull it away from the gun under spring pressure and rotate it around until the engraving is at approximately 3 o'clock. And when you get there, you have an unobstructed sight picture.
Great.
And it's a user serviceable pistol, or pistol silencer. You can take it apart for cleaning. And since it comes apart for cleaning and it's eccentric, it's also an excellent silencer to use on a 22 host.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even though it's way overboard for 22 long rifle ammunition, it sounds every bit as good as a dedicated 22 pistol silencer. And won't block your sights, and you can get it apart and clean it. Which is very important with 22 because 22 ammunition is typically pretty dirty.
Yeah.
And our other centerfire pistol caliber offering this year is the Tyrant 45M, and the M stands for modular. The original Tyrant 45 was about 8 3/4 of an inch long, and the modular can is just a little bit longer, but it gains a very interesting feature. It now has a toolless front end cap that can be removed by hand without the use of a spanner tool. And with the front end cap removed, you can unscrew the front module here that takes about 1/3 of the length of the silencer away. And so you go from a full-size dry silencer that's a little under 9 inches long to a compact silencer that should be shot wet for maximum sound reduction, but it's only about 6.5 inches long. And the length of this is about the same as our Tyrant 45S, which was adopted by several military units here about 3 years ago. And like I said, this unit is best shot with a little bit of water, gel, or some ablative media in it to make it as quiet as possible. Shot dry, it's about 23 decibels. With a little water in it, it gets up to 33 decibels, which is the same as the dry rating for the full-size model.
Okay, great.
Yep. 2 cans in 1.
Just the 45?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, the 45 was outselling the Tyrant 9, like 6 or 7 to 1, and we stopped making it.
Yeah.
Because everybody buys this, gets the conversion pistons, and shoots it on their 9.
Yeah. So, that looks a little different.
Yeah, this is one of our rimfire offerings this year, and it does look quite a bit different from typical AAC silencer. This is called the Mercury, and it's rated for 22 long rifle, 22 Magnum, 17 HMR, and 17 Mach 2. This is a silencer that's going to replace the Prodigy that's been in the product line for about 7 or 8 years. And like the Prodigy, it is user disassemblable, but it comes apart in a different manner. The rear end cap of the Illusion is a long piece that gives you plenty of gripping surface, and with it removed, it has threads on the inside of the cap, whereas most end caps have threads on the outside and thread into the tube. This one has threads on the inside of the cap and screws onto the outside of the tube. And with the threads on the outside of the tube coupled with the O-ring seal here, your threads are always going to stay nice and clean, and you're always going to be able to get this cap off.
And that's a toolless option.
You don't need the wrench. Totally. Yeah, you don't need the 2 wrenches.
It gets a little tight after.
Exactly. And from the years of the Prodigy being on the market, we learned that when you're trying to remove a monolithic core, it is best to remove it in a linear fashion rather than try to turn it around. Because in turning it, you're trying to scrape all the carbon that's built up on the tube loose, and if it's been shot a lot, that can be really difficult and bad if you're using tools on an aluminum silencer. This is all stainless steel, and the core is designed to be removed in a straight line fashion. The front of the core actually pokes out the front of the tube about 1/8 of an inch, and when the silencer's dirty, you need only put it down on a hard surface and push. And that disengages the core from the tube by about 1/8 of an inch. Now the core has 10 notches on it and is keyed to 2 tabs on the tube, so you can actually change the rotational orientation of the core and dial in your point of impact suppressed too close to the same point of impact as unsuppressed.
Okay.
The core uses a patented AAC feature where the core tapers from the rear to the front, and inside the tube there's a corresponding set of tapers. So when you disengage the core by pressing down, you increase the amount of distance between the core and the inside of the tube from 0.005 of an inch to 0.010 of an inch. And any crud or accumulated fouling inside the silencer is going to drop at that point, and you'll be able to easily extract the core for cleaning and routine maintenance.
All right.
And our other new rimfire offering this year is called the Aviator 2. And we had an Aviator 1 silencer out years ago, and in a test that was done by an independent silencer writer, the Aviator 2, or the Aviator 1, was one of the quietest 22 silencers he'd ever tested. And anyone that's familiar with the Pilot 2 will notice a lot of similarities, and essentially the Aviator 2 is a Pilot 2 with 3 additional baffles. And those 3 extra baffles change the sound reduction from around 35 decibels up to 41 decibels. So all of our 22 offerings at this point are 40 dB cans, from the $299 price point Aviator 2 to the $399 Mercury, all the way up to the $499 Element 2, which is our top-of-the-line silencer. It's primarily of aluminum construction. It does have a stainless steel blast baffle and a stainless steel insert in the tube, so you always have a steel-on-steel interface when threading on or removing from the pistol or rifle. You have a spanner hold front end cap, so you use a spanner tool to remove the front end cap. The baffles can be pushed out for cleaning and routine maintenance.
All right. It's got some heft to it.
Yeah, it's 7.5 ounces, and it's got a lot of style. You know, people are demanding people are demanding more than a straight tube silencer these days. So that one's got a little bit of style.
So this is user.
Oh yes. And you just press it down on the table, and that pops the core loose.
Do they slide out as a whole?
Yep, just pull it right out. The core and the rear end cap are heat-treated, nitrided 17-4 stainless steel, and the tube is 3/16 stainless. And once we get it all together, we give the whole thing a coat of matte black Cerakote.
Just pop it in there?
Yep. You got to make sure that the tabs back here line up in the notches, and then just give it a push.
How do you index those tabs to remember which way you did it?
There is on the
one
back.
tab wider than the other?
Nah, they're the same. They're supposed to be the same size. On the back side of the core, there's a small porthole there that bleeds some gas from the entrance chamber into the subsequent chamber, and you can use that as a guide for where you stick it.
Perfect.
And with the threads being on the outside of the tube and an O-ring seal, you'll never get your rear end cap stuck. There's never going to be crud getting in there.
Okay, so this is something that seems like a lot of guys have been demanding.
Yes, indeed it is. We built these in our prototype shop and brought this one to SHOT just to gauge customer interest, and just based on the interest we got in it yesterday alone, we've decided to go ahead and move this into production. Right now we're tentatively calling this a blast shield, and it is a 17-4 stainless part that's going to be nitrided and heat treated, and it uses the same mounting architecture that you find on the rear of an M4 2000 silencer. It threads on to any AAC 51 tooth muzzle brake, flash hider, or breakout, and encompasses or enshrouds the entire muzzle device. This is primarily useful when you have muzzle brakes on short barrels because they're pretty obnoxious to the people.
Houses and hallways.
On either side of you, yeah. And with this on there, it's going to cover the front 2/3 of the muzzle device, which will in effect enshroud the flash hider prongs and the muzzle brake ports. So it should direct more of the noise out toward the front of the gun and less of it side to side.
Great.
And
You guys have a price point on that, or are you still working that out?
Still working that out. It's probably going to be right around 150 bucks.
Okay.
So answer a question for me. On the 300 Blackouts, where is AAC going with twist rates and barrel lengths and kind of that composition of the sweet spot in a sense?
Yeah, right now, most of our barrels, particularly all the barrels in the AR line that we have for sale, are going to be 1 in 7 twist. But we're still with the 9-inch barrel, 12.5-inch, and 16-inch.
Okay. Why 1 in 7? Are you wanting to get a little more twist on it in that short space? Are you finding not enough stability in a 1 in 8?
Yeah, when we started out, I believe our very first barrels were 1 in 9, then we went to 1 in 8, and now we've settled on 1 in 7. That seems to be the best compromise for the broad spectrum of bullet weights that are out there. I know there's some that are as light as 110 grain, and some that are even a little heavier than 220 grains that people are loading their own these days.
Absolutely. So, in as much as you've got it kind of on that sweet spot in twist rates, where are you on the gas tube?
This particular gun, and most of them have moved to a pistol-length gas system.
Okay.
We used, I believe, carbine length with some of the earlier offerings, and going to the pistol-length gas system has shown to improve reliability over the broad spectrum of loads that are out there.
Okay, so potentially, or specifically, the shorter gas tube lengths is all about reliability in your experience.
Yep.
And the 9-inch as a minimum length, is that based on some experience, some anecdotal evidence, or is there something more concrete than that as a minimum?
That's really the point at which you completely consume the propellant in the subsonic loads.
Okay.
Is right at 9 inches. And when we started working on the 300 Blackout, the majority of the emphasis is going to be on suppressed use. And with the short barrels that you find on a lot of 5.56 SBRs now, where the ammunition is optimized for a 20-inch barrel, and you shorten it to 10.5 inches, you've got so much unconsumed powder that gets into the silencer, and it abrasively destroys the blast baffle. Very hard on the blast baffle, and you wind up with unconsumed powder in the silencer, which can create a silencer fire, which is no fun. It's very pretty to look at, but it's no fun. And yeah, the 9-inch, with the subsonic ammo, you get a complete burn at that point.
So you're really at that point kind of maximizing the performance capability of the widest spectrum of loads available.
Yes.
And so the compromise is that you're not tuning it to any specific load or any specific utility.
Right. It's in a, like you said, a sweet spot where we get the best reliability with the majority of loads that are out there.
So you're not having to mess with buffers and springs and stuff like that?
No, we've pretty well standardized on the H2 buffer with, we're using the same spring in everything. And so far so good. We don't have to use an adjustable gas block, although, you know, a lot of people would probably find the adjustable gas block advantageous because it would even broaden the spectrum of different loads and different weights that they can use.
Well, and my experience with the Blackout is I've got an 8-inch CMMG barrel, and of course I don't stare at the end of my barrel when I'm firing it, but nobody's complained yet of some dragon in the lane next to it.
Yeah, oh yeah, 1 inch isn't going to make much difference. You've burned up 90% of the powder at that point.
The biggest problem I had initially was locking the bolt back.
Yeah.
And in the 220s. And
yeah.
So I think it's resolved itself. We'll just have to see, but ultimately.
Sometimes they shoot themselves in,
right,
and just get used to it.
So I mean that's kind of where I am. I need to put a lot more rounds on range, but obviously you guys develop caliber, you develop the standards, so really your kind of movements in that arena kind of guide what everybody else seems to be doing.
Yeah, and it's been wonderful to watch as other people have picked up 300 Blackout and run with it.
So tell me, when it comes to like long-term viability, is 300 Blackout ever going to like reach that market penetration you find in a 5.56, or is it always going to be a specialty item for the enthusiast?
I would love to see it become very commonplace, and seeing I think a couple of the Russian ammunition manufacturers are offering it now. That is a step in that direction. But given the fact that 5.56 has got 60 years of heritage behind it, I think it's going to take longer for 300 Blackout to get to the point where you can walk into Walmart and buy a box. But it's proven to be a new cartridge introduction that really has some legs. We've all seen cartridge introductions that look really good when they come out of the gate, but they stall, yeah, because they just don't have the support. And we've been very blessed to have an ammunition company that's part of our family here. So we were able to get them behind it and have a pretty consistent supply of ammo coming out. But yeah, I would love to see it more widespread, and I'd love to see the price of the ammunition come down, because that will get a lot more people interested.
Yeah.
Tell me about the rails on your uppers here.
Oh yeah. This is going to be the new rail that we offer on all of our uppers going forward. This is it Keymod? Okay. Yeah, I haven't had any.
Kind of like Keymod.
I didn't have anything to do with the rail development, so yeah, it's a Keymod rail. It is very slender. We've been delivering uppers and continue to do so with the Advanced Armament URX rail.
Right.
But
that's what mine has.
Yep. We wanted something that was a little more slender and that would allow people to position rail, the Picatinny rail, wherever they wanted it. And it's different from some of the other rails out on the market, primarily by the way it mounts. We've got a barrel nut that's somewhat dumbbell shaped, and the barrel nut's installed, gas tube's installed, the rail is slid over the barrel nut, and then we have a turnbuckle that you slide into the slot here and tighten the turnbuckle, and it presses the two ends of the turnbuckle in opposite directions, which tensions the rail on the rifle. And we don't have them on this rifle, but there's a little plastic piece that snaps in over that locks the turnbuckle in place and really makes it look pretty down there.
So otherwise you just put your wrench in and...
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And are you finding that as far as the assembly, that it's just, I mean, it's no different than any other commercially available?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
I've never seen
yeah.
attachment like that. It's
Yeah,
very unique.
yeah. They started using that on the LVAW, the Honey Badger, and it was a natural flowing of the design down into the standard commercial rail.
Now, does the rail get sold on its own, or is the full complete upper the only place you're going to get it?
Yeah, the rail is going to be available as an accessory item.
The rails, we're looking at second quarter.
Second quarter this year?
Can I borrow that Mercury?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Is it, do you know what the diameter of the inside is? Is it a little tight for putting a can inside?
Let me think. I'm pretty sure
Cans
it'll
are
take...
like 1.5 inches?
I think it's a little small for 1.5 inches.
Okay.
I think inch and... Tell you what.
I guess you'd be able to tell on that one.
Yeah, this is 1.5 inches, so it'll take 1 3/8 inches.
Okay.
Yeah. We played around with one that would take 1.5 inches, but it plumped up enough
Right.
that this
You want
feels...
this nice slender feel.
Yeah, this feels really good, and
Yeah,
when it
especially
plumped
in
up...
such a short barrel.
Yeah, if you there's a variant of this rail. I think they've got it on the LVAWs that they've got over at the Rim Def booth,
Okay.
and the silencer is reflexed inside that handguard, and you can feel the difference.
That's the Honey Badger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, is this going to be your standard length? Is it going to come in multiple lengths? Or
Yes. Yeah.
15 inch.
In fact, we've got them. I think the first 3 are going to be appropriate for use on the 9-inch, the 12.5 inch, and then the 16-inch.
Okay.
And as there's demand for additional lengths, we'll certainly address the demand.
What do you got sitting there in the front?
Oh, that's an M240 Bravo belt-fed machine gun with our MGSD silencer on that. We developed that for the FUMBUS contract for the military about 4 years ago. And it's an interesting silencer in that it's a one silencer solution for both the 5.56 belt-fed machine guns in the U.S. Arsenal and the 30 caliber M240 machine gun that's used. So you can use the one silencer to suppress either 5.56 or the 30 caliber M240.
Is that still a 51 tooth sort of mount, or is it unique?
It's actually a 90 tooth ratchet taper mount. It's a little different than what we're using here, but very similar otherwise. It's all Econel construction and has to be to handle the kind of heat and abrasion that you're going to get from belt-fed machine gun use, and it's extremely effective. It's a little heavy. It's around 30 ounces. It's really interesting to hear this fired on one of the belt-fed machine guns. It does not sound like gunfire at all. It sounds more like an air hose being decoupled over and over and over and over. And it's very pleasant, very low back pressure, which you'd expect with something that's 2 inches in diameter. So you really don't gas the soldier. That was one of the requirements. Yeah, and the low back pressure also keeps the gun clean longer. Back pressure has a tendency to blow a lot of crap back into the gun. So typically when you run any gun suppressed, you're going to find that it cruds up quite a bit faster than the same gun without a suppressor. So with the larger volume here, it keeps those belt-fed guns running clean, running reliably longer.
Has this been used?
Oh yeah, yeah. You see the paint has been blistered off.
Well, you can see that kind of accumulation of the debris inside.
And you can see a 3-lobe burn pattern from the flash hider in there.
Well, cool, Mike. What should we be expecting this year?
Working on, of course, we've got the Illusion 9mm, so I think it would be a safe assumption that a 45 version of it would come somewhere down the road. And we're just going to continue to look at our existing product line and come up with ways to improve that and address the demands of the customer in 2015.
All right, fantastic. Appreciate your time.
Yep, my pleasure.